How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, Ben Newman. Now, I have known the special guest for almost 16 years now, starting from grade school all the way through high school. She was a star lacrosse player at the University of Michigan and is now working a B2B sales development position over at AT&T. With that being said, please welcome my special guest and friend, Miss Maggie Kane. Maggie, how you doing today?
Good, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. Now, Maggie, to start it off, talk about your current role at AT&T.
I was a mobility seller. I actually switched jobs recently, but at AT&T, I was a mobility seller. So I did like cell phones for businesses. Anytime that a business uses an iPad, a cell phone, a watch, I kind of helped set that up and went through that business deal with them. I currently am now in wine sales. I'm with a distributor. So I have 5 accounts and I work with those accounts to kind of make sure they have the wine that they need. So I'm kind of the liaison between the supplier who makes the wine and the account who needs the wine and sells it.
Last year, you graduated from the University of Michigan, one of the top and most well known universities in the country. How do you think being able to attend a school like the University of Michigan helped you prepare for your role today?
I think in a lot of ways that I wouldn't be who I am, or I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having played like that sport at Michigan. I was talking to a friend recently that the real world grind is very similar to that of a student athlete, except for this time you're getting paid for it, which is a nice perk, I must say. But that time management is huge. Instead of coming home and going right to bed, being able to balance having a social life, that personal balance of laundry, cooking, all of it is really, I think, has really grown because of my experience in college, having to balance school and lacrosse and that social life, and that whole dynamic was so crazy that transitioning into the real world, I wouldn't say has been a breeze, but has definitely been easier because of my experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand that, college athletes aren't really only there to play sports. They still have to balance the social life, like you said. They still have to go to school, get good grades, things like that. So it's definitely, I can definitely understand how tough that is.
Yeah, and it's really important to make sure that you hit all of those rounds, because if you're not doing well in school, then you're not going to be on the field, and if you don't have that personal life, that social aspect, then I think it kind of takes a hit, as in like the happiness that you have like throughout your college experience. So making sure that you're just doing it all and doing it all the right way.
Now, I feel like lacrosse has really been able to grow in the last 20 years at least. But what made you want to start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, lacrosse is like the fastest growing sport on land, something like that, some crazy fact like that. I actually got into lacrosse through my best friend, Stephanie Braun. She and her family had been playing, and her sister was actually part of the first team at the University of Michigan. And I remember I started in 7th grade with Steph. Her and her family were like, come out, just like see what a game's like. And I was like, okay, fine. I didn't even have a stick, none of it. And so I played with them for a while. I remember going to watch her older sister Emily at the University of Michigan during their first season. I have a poster in my room that Emily signed that says like "To my little prodigy." It's kind of came full circle, but I got into lacrosse because um, my friend Steph and we would just want to hang out more, spend more time together, and that was kind of the way to do it. And just took off running with it, truly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that was a really great improvement. Only starting in 7th grade to only 5 6 years later playing on a college field. But along with that, you're a very gifted athlete. I mean, you played volleyball, you played basketball alongside lacrosse. I feel like you could have played any of these sports, but I think what made you choose lacrosse over those other two sports to really pursue?
I think within the Midwest, lacrosse is very underdeveloped. It has doesn't have as many opportunities and just being able to help grow that game, like being one of those players that help champions the sport way past the East Coast, having those opportunities to play. I think lacrosse gave me the best opportunity to play at the highest level. So I might have been able to play like volleyball or lacrosse. I don't know if I was actually that good, but if I did, it was not ever going to be at the level that I was going to be able to reach with lacrosse. So the opportunities that lacrosse presented within itself, just how much I really love the sport. Honestly, like I even starting in seventh grade, I remember how fun it was to hit the field and like compete against girls. Like even if I was or wasn't the best on the field, just being out there and with the opportunities combined, I think it was kind of a no-brainer for me once I hit high school that lacrosse was what I wanted to pursue.
Yeah, definitely, and you definitely excelled at that. I mean, a 4-year varsity letterman at Catholic Central, leading the team in scoring in all 4 years on varsity. How do you think Catholic Central really helps develop you as a player and really helps lead you to be able to play at the University of Michigan?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that Catholic Central really helped me was with confidence. I was able to like be really creative on the field. I was able to um, kind of help lead that offense in a way that instilled confidence in me that I was able to take a team like to the next level, play, compete with any other team. And that gave me the confidence to hit the field at camps and at tournaments where other coaches were at so that I could actually play to the best of my ability. When you play like loose, when you play fast, that's when you play your best. And I think at Catholic Central, with under the direction of Coach Cross and the McCartys, like they really helped me like develop as a player within my confidence and like both offense and defense. They were great.
Obviously you ended up going to Michigan, but what made you choose Michigan over possibly other schools that recruited you?
So I was also looking at, I first wanted to go to West Point Army, which if any of you know me is kind of funny. It's not who I am. But I was dead set on it. And then I took looks at Central Michigan, Marquette, and I was really, really dead set on going to the University of Colorado Boulder. I was ready to commit. I wanted to send it, be right, get my verbal out of the way. And my mom was like, let's do one more tournament. Let's just see who reaches out. And then after that, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, okay. I did that tournament. It was down in Florida in November. And excuse me, the University of Michigan reached out and I went to go visit. And after talking with my parents, I'm like, how do you say no to the University of Michigan? It's the best academic, it's the best athletic, it's got great social life. Like I'm only 2 hours from home. There was like nothing that turned me away from lacrosse. And since lacrosse is still developing, and at the time there was no like pro league or anything like that, so you had to pick the school based on the school and not on the sport. So yeah, Michigan wasn't like top 10 at the time, but it hit every check mark that I needed and wanted in a college. And so that's why I chose Michigan, and I'm so happy I did. I have absolutely no regrets about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had a great career at Michigan, but I feel like your sophomore year especially was an incredible one. I mean, you hold the record for 22 straight games where you scored, and you rank fifth all time with 34 goals scored in a single season. Talk about this season specifically and what you think made it so special.
Um, I think what made it so special is like you come in your freshman year and you're kind of like deer in the headlights. You have like no really idea what the expectations are. You're just getting your feet under you. You're trying to just survive your freshman year. I think my sophomore year is when I really felt comfortable within my role, and my coaches there helped instill me like this mindset in me that like I deserve to be out there and like I can be a playmaker if I want to be, and if I put my head like mind to it. So I think that's kind of what started like this whole like change of my game my sophomore year, was that I wanted to like show people that I deserve to be out on that field, that my freshman year wasn't just like we needed another body. I was really excited to like prove to everyone that the University of Michigan is a force to be reckoned with. And I think my teammates, huge shout out to them. They gave me every opportunity to score in those games. So couldn't have done it without them. But it was, I think, just assuming the role as like a starting midfielder or just a midfielder in general for the team is what really gave me the confidence to succeed my sophomore year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I definitely understand. It can be really hard coming in as a freshman and really trying to prove yourself over, the upperclassmen teammates and things like that. But with your career overall at Michigan, what would you say are some of your favorite moments that you were able to experience?
Such a good question. I would say on the field, my freshman year, last game against Penn State, that was awesome. Won, upset them at the last second. Um, Going undefeated at home, I think was my sophomore year as well. We went undefeated at home. We made the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. Those were kind of the memories on the field that really resonated with me. It's in addition to like beating teams for the first time, like a Johns Hopkins and then a Penn State. It was awesome, and we had such great success as a team within my 4 years that it was an honor to witness and be a part of that. I would say off the field, like I have met the most amazing people that I could ever imagine. Like my teammates, like even just the thought of them make me laugh because they're like hysterical. I couldn't have gotten through those 4 years without them because it is a grind. So going through that grind with those girls next to you, um, just as a whole, is one of my greatest memories. And um, just being able to like meet my best friends at school while I play the sport I love is what I like wrap up in like my favorite memory.
Now, along with playing at Michigan, you were also part of the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. Talk about your role there.
So this was a committee that was made up of, let's say, about five-ish student athletes from each team, give or take. And they would meet once every other week. And you would just go over certain legislations that were going on within the NCAA. You would talk about events that the athletic department was putting on. So, like their fall fest and like charity events where they would help like bring in kids, and each team would have a station. We would put together Mock Rock, which is another charity fundraiser event. It was really a great opportunity to meet other people on other sports, as well as get more involved in the community because, it's so easy to get wrapped up in your school and your sport that you kind of forget about bigger picture issues. So this was a great way to be a part of that and also be like a resource for your teammates. If they had any questions, you would bring them to, we call it SAC, you would bring it to the SAC meeting. If you had any concerns or suggestions, you would be that representative for your teammates to participate in the meetings and like come back and give them an answer. So it was a really cool opportunity, just to be a part of something bigger than like the 24 hours that your day usually consists of.
No, definitely, that's great. It's really nice to be, able to kind of branch out and do something that's maybe a little new, maybe something that you don't think you have time for, but are really able to expand and become a better leader off of that.
Yeah, exactly. You get it.
Now, Maggie, I've known you and your family for a very long time, and I know how close the Canes are. You know, you're the youngest of six. How did their support throughout your playing career really help you and just help push you improve every day?
It's a great question. I grew up playing sports with my older siblings. I watched them. I watched the advice my dad would give to my siblings. I would listen to what my dad wasn't as familiar with lacrosse, but he kind of just blended all the sports, and the same general message would apply. And so I think that their support kind of propelled me just to be the best athlete I could. It really strengthened my mental game in the sense that like there are times when sometimes the family gets like survival of the fittest mode, and you guys you got to be mentally tough. And I think that's where like a lot of my mental toughness came from, was my family. They There's no such thing as like giving up. There's no such thing as quitting. None of that. And they inspired me to be the best. Like, I've never seen people work harder in their sport and out. They are great people all around. And so like taking that inspiration into my game on and off the field has been instrumental to the player that I've become, or was, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Maggie, we mentioned it earlier, but there has really been a surge in lacrosse over the last 20 years, turn of the century. But it still doesn't really get the coverage that other sports get. You still have college lacrosse, you do have Major League Lacrosse now, but why do you think it's important for college lacrosse and the MLL to get more coverage in our country?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that it's almost like one of those debates, like chicken or the egg. Like, what's going to happen first? Is the sport going to grow, or is it going to be like televised nationally in order for the sport to grow? I think there is so many opportunities out there, like I had previously mentioned, that if the game is covered, more people will be interested in creating more opportunities for everybody. It's kind of a shame that lacrosse doesn't have as much exposure as it deserves. I think it's something like the fastest sport on two feet. And so there's so much to like learn, like just by watching. The girls I coach, I always urge them to watch, because you can get better as an athlete, and also it's interesting. And I just don't think people have given lacrosse that time of day yet. So in order to grow lacrosse and get it to its fullest potential as one of like the most dominating sports in NCAA, like you got to give it that coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. And along with that, I mean, while there is a professional lacrosse league for men, there isn't necessarily anything truly noble for women. Why do you think it's important for women's lacrosse, and more specifically women's sports in general, to get more coverage in our nation?
So women's lacrosse has been making huge strides. Like post grad, they have a league called Athletes Unlimited, and it's just kind of a hodgepodge of like the best players in the country, and they play. And that's, I think, kind of moving the needle in the right direction of like pro sports. We all know that basketball is probably like one of the most well-known and only women's sports, and I think that's kind of a shame, because when young girls grow up like or looking at TV, it shouldn't just be a male dominated TV that they see revolving sports. Giving equal opportunity to boys and girls and men and women, I think, is what we need to start striving for. I know we need to start striving for that, just so that girls growing up know that they have that opportunity to be whoever they want, do whatever they want, and they're going to get the recognition, they're going to get the time of day that they deserve, and that the opportunities out there for them are endless, just like it would be with any boy growing up looking at a men's league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy because, like you mentioned, the WNBA is the only truly major women's professional sport, and I'd say viewership wise, the only women's sport out there that really gets more viewership than a male sport is Olympic gymnastics. And you know, while I think it's really amazing what those girls can do on a platform, there needs to be more for women to be able to do professionally.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we do keep making strides like women's athletics, but the fact that we are so far behind men's leagues, um, it's kind of unbelievable, and it's very telling of what kind of movement we gotta start making.
All right, now Maggie, I'm going to quiz you a little bit, okay?
Oh
So
goodness.
you at Michigan, you did study communications and media. You've done some work marketing. What do you think you would do to try to really promote college lacrosse and Major League Lacrosse?
The social media accounts of the women's teams right now are doing really well. Like Florida has great coverage. So does Syracuse, Northwestern, all of these teams that when there isn't access on TV to watch the game, they'll try to do what they can on their social media accounts. I think every team having the ability to do that would be huge. Playing those games, those college games on TV more often. There's a lot of college softball on, there's a lot of soccer, all of those things, but like making sure that it gets spread out evenly and that women's lacrosse is getting as much coverage and as much time to be on Big Ten Network or ESPNU would be ideal. So just making sure that they get on those big platforms, they get the opportunity to perform on the big networks. I think those are ways that you market the sport to grow and get bigger.
Maggie, after graduating, you were actually able to stay involved with lacrosse, this time as a coach. Was coaching something that you ever saw yourself doing?
So I first started out coaching just to get some summer money, throughout college, high school, whatever it may be. And then once I graduated, it had only been like 4 months, and someone reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to coach down here in Texas with us?" And I was like, honestly, yeah, I do. Like, I'm not ready to like just dip away from lacrosse forever. So it wasn't necessarily something I imagined doing. And it's not something that like it's going to be my full-time job. At least right now, it's not going to be. But I love getting back to like young girls that were like myself in 7th grade in an underdeveloped area like Texas. I think there's a lot of similarities into their experience and like what mine was, that it just felt super natural and super right for me to like coach and give any knowledge that I can, even like if they take one thing away each day from like anything I say, like I'm okay with that. I really do enjoy it, and the girls are great, and my coaches are awesome. So it's been really great. It's been really great.
Yeah, and finally, you mentioned it a little bit, but what would you say drives you to really be able to coach the next generation of young lacrosse players?
I think every conversation that we've had today has kind of has a little bit of that answer. I want to help expand lacrosse as a whole. I want to give back to girls that were like myself growing up. I want to make sure that the girls on the team like know what kind of opportunities they have out there and that they can do whatever they want. If that lacrosse is what they want to pursue, great, I'll help you and I'll do what I can. And if they just want to do it as a summer hobby, great, let's have fun. Let's win a couple tournaments. My biggest like reward is seeing girls improve in the game of lacrosse grow while coaching. And I mean, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's been great.
Awesome. Well, Maggie, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It was good to see you.
Good. Thanks, Ben. It was really nice seeing you too.
But that's going to wrap it up for us today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the BaseLINE podcast. Thank you to my good friend Maggie Kane for hopping on and talking about her lacrosse career and just overall her love for the sport of lacrosse. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, please subscribe. I really appreciate the support of this podcast. With all that being said, guys, thank you again so much for watching the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, Ben Newman, and we'll catch you guys next time.